If you do want to play across the fretboard like that with any scale, then you can by using this simple method I'm going to give you. And it really is an amazing strategy for how to learn to play across the fretboard. And it works faster than anything else I know of after over 40 years of playing. So listen up. It's very simple, but I'm just going to give you the background information first. So if you have 5 minutes, stick with me. First of all, how do you learn the map of a city? Well, when I moved to Copenhagen in Denmark when I was very young, then I learned the city by taking buses. And then I basically knew the city by the bus routes through the city, right? Because the brain learns sequentially. When you learn the alphabet, you can't tell me what the 10th letter in the alphabet is, because you have to count all your way in there, right? Because one letter gives you the memory of the next letter. So you say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah. So it's sequentially stored, right? You can't remember number 10 unless you get to number 9. You can't remember number 9 unless you get to, and so on. So that's the same way we learn anything when it's something like this. That's why it's so difficult, because what it really is a map, right? But how big is it, right? If you say, okay, this is it, and I'm going to learn a couple of dots along the way, why does it take that much time? And why do people have a hard time even learning it in a full lifetime, right? A couple of scales across the neck. Simply because we're not learning like that. And the only way to learn like that is to learn sequentially enough time. So let's say you take that bus around the city, and then you know the city. You know how to get from here to there, right? But then the next day you go from here over here to there, right? In the opposite direction, or you crisscross. And so suddenly you realize in the middle here that you're on a square. And you know exactly where you are. It just looks in a slightly different way because you're seeing it from another perspective. And then you realize, oh, I can get from this square to there because I know that that's the old bus route I used to take when I lived in the other place. And then gradually, as you go in more and more ways, then you connect the dots, right? Oh, so I can go, I don't have to go all the way up here and then down there. I can go, So I stopped, moving when I drove a car. Finally, I stopped, driving the bus routes, and I was able to finally say, okay, if I'm here, I can go there, right? Or I can take this route, and I know, that's how we navigate a city, and that's how we navigate the fretboard. So why am I telling you this long story about when I, moved to Copenhagen in my young years? Because if you can take a route, plot out a path. I call them power paths because they give you ultimate power to move through the fretboard. You just chart, instead of learning, vertical shapes and keep practicing them, it doesn't work, does it? Right? You keep, and then we struggle to kind of see if we can combine them afterwards, right? And go horizontally, because that was what we wanted in the first place. So instead of doing that, then stop learning these, and instead learn a freaking path through the fretboard that does what you want it to do, right? But that's just a random path. Yeah, a random path. And as you do that, you kind of navigate and visualize the other shapes so you know where you are. The more you can know where you are, and if you don't, no problem, right? I started by... Right? I started with something like that, where you basically move through octaves, right? Or you move in some random shape, right? Where we can take, like, say you take, if you're in the key of A and you have your first position minor pentatonic. Let's go close up here, right? So you have your minor pentatonic in the 5th fret. And then, let's say you start where you usually start, on the first 3 strings, right? So you go 5, 8 on the low E string, then 5, 6, 7 on the A, and then 7 and 7 and 5. Yeah, 5 and 7 on the D string. And then from here, I'm going to go up to my octave. But that's it. I'm just having fun now. I'm just coming up with some things, right? So I go like that, right? And then I go up, I slide up, and I have the 7th in my first finger on the D string, and then my 10th, and then 7, 9, 10. Oh, sorry, 7, 8, 9. Learn to count, Claus. And that's exactly the same as down here. Now I just have it here in the octave. But then I could take that all the way up, but instead of doing that, I'm just going to move to my 9 and 12 here on the G string. So two strings, right? So I'm going to slide up to the 12th and the 9th here on the G string, and then have 12 and 10 on the D, and then I have my blue note there, right? So I go. But what are you doing, Claus? Write it down. I need the tabs. You don't need the tabs. You just need to play random stuff. Just pick notes that you play. That's it. That's what you do, right? That's improvising. Do whatever you want, right? That's your path. And then I get up to the next here, following the two middle strings. I have the 12th and the 14th, right? And then I'm suddenly in my 4th position, shape up here. Let's go down now. Let's go all the way down to the 3rd fret on both the E and the A string. Right. Then from here, let's just say you went up, then 12, 14 on the two middle strings. Then you went up the 4th position to 13 and 15, right? And then you slide up to the 17th. I'm just coming up with this as we speak. Slide up to the 17th on the B string, and then hit the 15th and the 17th on the top E string there, and then sliding all the way up to the 20th fret up there, and then I'm actually in the 1st position. Same shape again, right? So now I just travel this far here. Right? So just that path. Now, if you take this path, and of course I'm able to create this path because I have some amount of visual capabilities of seeing the whole thing across the fretboard, right? But you can basically sit down with a piece of paper. You have paper still and a pencil or an iPad or whatever you use, and then draw out something for yourself, right? But the key now is to stick with this baby for long enough to make it habitual, to make it easy, to make it as easy as the 1st position minor pentatonic, because otherwise you won't use it. So just like the taking the bus from the same place to the same place, you do that so many times. So when you got to go from this place to that place, you just naturally just follow the programmed path. You know of no other paths to get to that place, even though the bus does all kinds of stuff to pick people up. That's the same thing you do. I want you to stick with this for a week, for 2 weeks, and then once it's really ingrained and it's so easy, every time you put on a jam track, you use that path. Every time you just sit down and practice a sequence, you do it within this path. You practice it the first time you pick up your guitar every single day. You use it over and over and over and over again. And once you then have learned it after a week or two, and it seems easy now, right? Why stay with it? Revisit it every single day. Revisit it every single week. Then revisit it every single month, right? You do that with everything, because that's the way to learn, to make it an ingrained part of your playing, right? And you can, after a couple of weeks, you can design another power path, right? That has other elements within it as well. Maybe some arpeggio stuff going on up here, right? Maybe some chromatics going on down here. And suddenly you keep making power paths, keep staying with them and learning them so they're like a city, right? Like taking the same route every day. So they're so familiar to you that you just naturally go into them. It's so easy. And if you keep doing that, then you actually don't ever have to learn the vertical shapes, because this is much more effective. And it gives you everything you want right away, right? Instead of having to learn these systems the lack of systems across the fretboard, right? That is just tons of information. So do this, and do it now, and make sure you do it. Write it somewhere so you can't forget what's in this video. Please, subscribe to this video. Go download it if you can, right? Download the free course we have on alternate picking right below here, and hit the bell icon and do all these things. And leave a comment. by all means. And then make sure to watch one of the other videos I have for you here by the end of the video. See you.